Germany's chancellor of the weekend saying Europe's goal remains cooperation, but if the U.S. leaves us no choice, as with tariffs on steel and aluminum, we as the EU will react as one. Ontario Premier Doug Ford echoing that sentiment on CNBC earlier today.
We have another $65 billion worth of tariffs to launch today. That's the last thing we want to do, because it's just, again, it's going to hurt both countries. It's going to hurt American workers. That's the last thing I want.
And Ford added that Canada could take tariffs off the table altogether if the U.S. does the same. Vietnam taking a more collaborative approach, slashing its own tariff rates in advance of today's announcement. Israel similarly saying they'll cancel all remaining tariffs on American imports. Let's turn now to Atlantic Council CEO Fred Kempe. Fred, whose playbook has it right here? Whose is going to work out the best, do you think?
Well, you're going to see some Vietnams and some Israels, and you're going to see some European Union and Germany. I think this notion that our economy is so strong that no one is going to retaliate because they would just lose misunderstands domestic politics of other countries, where elected leaders have to retaliate in one way or another. Also, they can retaliate in ways that are asymmetrical. If you're looking at the possibility of China going after technology companies, the European Union going after services, we have a big services surplus with the European Union, and they can go after that. And I think we have to recognize what's going to be implemented is going to be the highest effective tariff rate since the 1930s. What also happened in the 1930s is you had new trading blocs. You had new trading partners finding their way to each other, and you could find that happens as well. And let's not forget what also happened in the 1930s afterwards. We hope that's not going to happen now. But, a trade war just really never serves, in the end, global stability, global peace.
And perhaps Vietnam and Israel have the, I don't want to say it, but the luxury of being able to be more collaborative, whereas we have a very different tone out of Europe and Germany. In fact, here's what the president of Germany's automotive industries told CNBC earlier today. She slammed the tariffs.
This spiral of protectionism that can be the result of those tariffs will lead to unemployment and to higher prices. So it's not for sure that the German companies will come more than they are to the U.S.
And the problem, Fred, is that if they respond in kind, then we're told that we will also respond in kind.
Look, I'll tell you what global investors have missed, and it's basically DOGE should have been their clue, that the president doesn't really care all that much that some stock prices are down. He's trying to change the entire global trading system. He thinks it's unfair. He thinks it can't be reformed. It's like the federal funding and foreign assistance. DOGE's idea was this can't be reformed. You have to break it, and you have to break it to rebuild it again. Sort of like kitchen remodeling. You'll like the kitchen in the end, but in the meantime, it's going to be a big mess. But it seems as though the president is willing to live with that. If people, and whether it's our allies or whether it's the investors, they looked at Trump 1, and they thought that tariffs were going to be a negotiating ploy. But tariffs right now, particularly today's tariffs, are going to be more about revenues. I don't think they're going to get the $6 trillion they want, but they want revenues. They also want to move manufacturing to the United States. That's going to take a long time. And then there's a third area of tariffs that Trump is using that hasn't been used this way before, which is tariffs as sanctions, using it to punish countries, whether it's over immigration, whether it's over fentanyl, or with the BRICS, whether it's over their threatened stopping using the dollar. So this is just an entirely different world. People are finally wrapping their hands around it, that this is really serious what the president wants to do, and we don't really know where it's all going to land, but I don't think it's going to land quite as neatly as the White House would hope it would land.